Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another exciting episode of Boiling at 100. Today's guest we got with us, my homeboy Brandon. Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Hey, how's it going, guys? First and foremost, man, appreciate you, Nathan, for inviting me on. Definitely, been liking the stuff you've been putting out, and once again, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share with you and your audience. Guys, my name is Brandon Narain. I'm a serial entrepreneur, born and raised in Queens, New York. I currently live in Orlando, Florida. And essentially, what I do is a little strategy called real estate wholesaling. Just one of the things that I do. I currently also own an application that also helps you with real estate wholesaling. I own a CRM, which also helps you with wholesaling properties as well. I do obviously education, public speaking, and a couple other things as well. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Just to kind of get it going.
Wow, I didn't even know some of that stuff. So that's awesome, man. Like,
So
man, you definitely you got a lot of stuff that you're into. So we're definitely gonna dive into that.
yeah, for sure.
The show, man. I really am amped for it and excited. So for right now, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna play the intro, and then after that, we're gonna get into the questions. All right, awesome. So again, welcome to the show. So you said that you're. Tell us exactly what your field is. I know that has to do with buying, selling, property. You mentioned education. Public.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that. Like, what exactly is it, and what you're doing?
For sure. So basically what we teach, guys, is called the OPM method. Now, the OPM method is the other people's money method. And what we traditionally do is that we help people in their market. So for example, let's just say Nathan, he's in the Central Florida area. He probably didn't know, but there is actually real estate investors right now waiting for him to bring him properties, and they're willing to pay all cash. So what we're actually doing, guys, is that we're finding properties at a discounted price. And most of the time what we're doing is we're looking for a distressed seller that has a real estate property, obviously, that's owned by them. We're then negotiating, for a price. And what I do tell people is that we're not really getting it at a discount. What we're doing is that we're paying current condition value. Okay. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. But with that being said, let's just say we're middlemaning properties. So we're actually getting a property under contract, let's just say $100,000. And then we're selling to these cash buyers that are in your market right now. We're selling to them for a higher fee. So it could be around 115, 120. We've had assignment fees or profit margins of up to $70,000. So what we do is called real estate wholesaling. And once again, all we're really doing is middlemaning properties. We're not actually ever purchasing the property with our own money. We're not fixing the property, nor you have to have a license or credit or any type of credentials to do this at the current moment.
Okay, cool. Wow, that sounds pretty cool. And when I hear that, and I don't know if this is true or not, like, because I've met a lot of people who actually went into the real estate arena. I don't want to misquote or anything, but they went into the real estate arena. I had some people approach me about flipping houses, and they were telling me the opposite of what you're saying. They were telling me they would get it, they would fix it up, put some money into it, sell at a higher price. So what's the difference in those two kind of things? Are they similar or what? What's the difference?
Yeah, so basically I would say it's similar, but without the headache. So when it comes down to flipping properties, just to kind of say exactly what you were talking to is you do have to purchase the property. In that case, obviously, you have to fix the property. So you have to have a team of contractors that you obviously have to manage and have the property fixed. From then on, obviously, you have to go ahead and have the property inspected to make sure that it was done correctly and that you're abiding by that city's, regulations or whatever the case may be. And then after that, you have to go ahead and appraise the property, or let's just say get a realtor and have it appraised, and then obviously list it. With us, what we're doing is we're actually finding the properties for the people that are actually going to fix it and flip it. So we're never actually doing any of that, renovation work, and we're never actually buying the property. So what we're doing is literally just connecting two people, a seller and a buyer. The only thing is that since, this is a huge, opportunity, we're finding properties that are exclusive. So what I mean by that is these properties aren't being listed on the open market like that. We're going direct to seller. And with that being said, if you know what somebody's willing to buy, then you know what to get something else at, and you can obviously make those two things. So I kind of talk about this, and my analogy to it is growing up, I used to like a lot of sneakers, right? So I used to buy like Jordans or whatever. So, nowadays they have these websites and all these applications that you can buy or you can use. And let's say you buy a pair of Jordans, you wait a couple months, and then you can go ahead and sell them on like one of these platforms for a profit margin. So it's kind of the same thing, when it comes down to it, except you're doing it in real estate, which obviously has higher paying margins. So you're dealing with thousands of dollars at one time.
Wow. I mean, that sounds pretty dope, actually. I mean, and it's funny because when I first met you and when you told me about like what you did there, I was like, all right, cool. And then when I got on your Instagram page and I seen like the videos and I was like, yo, okay, what's going on here? Like, they look like music videos, and I was like, oh man, he's doing things then. Okay, like this is not the ordinary like just buying and flipping. Like, he's making moves. Like, okay, so how did you get into it? Because at this level, it seems like you're pretty much like a guru. Like, how'd you get into it? It's all starts.
So I kind of tell you a little bit more history on myself, right? So I grew up, like I said, in Queens, with my grandmother and single mother, and didn't have my dad in my life. And basically, growing up, I wasn't really, I guess you can say, a person that liked school all the time. So I was always getting in trouble, and my senior year ended up getting expelled. So I got expelled. And I just ended up basically just learning the most that I could, and I passed literally by like an inch. Graduated like a 2.2 GPA, and after that, it was just one of those things that for most of my life I had to share a bedroom with my grandmother. So after trying a couple of things, and I'll get into that really quickly as well. One of them being how to cut hair. So I was a barber for several years, and I used to clean toilets, clean the whole barber shop. I was like a do-boy. So I went up through the ranks and learned how to cut hair. And then I quickly realized that wasn't really like a good end game for me, right? Like it just wasn't something that I didn't think I can really get financial freedom from. So then I pivoted over to, hey, I got to go to college and get a good degree, right? So I started doing that. So I volunteered at the hospital. And once I volunteered at the hospital, I was there for like 3 or 4 months, and they finally hired me. So once they hired me, I was making starting out like $9.50 an hour, and I was pushing patients around. And, I was going to college, still working at the barbershop. And then I was, working at the hospital. And it took me about 5 years to get my associate's degree. So once I got my degree, and I'm working at the hospital, once again, I was just like, I had like another epiphany bridge, and it was like, this just isn't my purpose. Like, this isn't what I truly want to do anymore. So, I'm like 24, about to be turning 25. And I'm like, man, like, this sucks. Like, I keep coming home, to my mom and my grandma. And like, I'm a grown man. Like, I'm 24 years old, about to be 25. Like, I need to be able to do something else. Like, so my dad was in real estate, and he used to always tell me about it. So I was like, what, let me try this out. It was something that I kind of wanted to do, but it kind of just made me want to do it even more, because I didn't feel like I had any other like solution, right? So I was like, okay, you know what, let me try this out. Got my license as a realtor, and I quickly failed at that too. So I was like helping this lady trying to sell her property for like a whole 7 months, and she never bought anything. And I was back to square one. So I quickly learned about this strategy that I'm telling you about. And it was actually at the hospital. There was this guy that used to work there, and he gave me like this ebook. He like emailed it to me. He's like, "Oh, read this. What I've been doing." And I'm like, "Okay, all right. I'm gonna take a look at it." And I started reading it. It's probably like the first book I ever read, and it was probably because it was like online. But started reading it, and I'm like, "Man, this is a scam. Like, this is a scam. There's no way." And then in my head, I'm like, it's so weird because he gave me this book for free. So like, what does he want out of this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And coming from where I come from, like, I'm always, you questioning people when you culture, bro. So he's like, why is this guy trying to help me out? Like,
exactly.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I started looking more into it, going on YouTube University. And, like I said, I was working at the barbershop, and then all of a sudden, man, my best friend tells me, hey, this guy does real estate. You should talk to him. And boom, he actually was doing wholesaling. And I spoke to him. That same, I think it was like maybe a week or two later, I was putting out bandit signs, and I started learning the game from there. So that's kind of how I got into it, man. So it was honestly, I was just restarting my life twice, and I was just trying to help my mom and my grandma, and I was just tired of being like living just. I'm not gonna say I was broke, but I was broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. When you look at it, it's like I only had maybe $300 to $400 at a time, in my bank account. So to me, it's like. And I do want to go ahead and retract that word broke, because I hate tagging that with a monetary value. But, my bank account I wasn't able to buy what I wanted to buy. So, yeah, it was one of those times where I just had to pivot.
I hear you, man. Wow. I resonate with that. It's crazy. I think for me, I resonate with that because I remember working at Sears, and same thing, man. You said that 300, man, you're a grown man, you bringing home, $300 every 2 weeks, and then on top of that, who's gonna want to date you for that? Who want, what I'm saying? Like, they ain't trying to date you if you bringing home like $300 every 2 weeks, like. And I started just having these, working, and I'm working in retail, and I'm seeing like all my friends come in, they dressing nice, people I went to school with, and it was starting to mess with, it starts to mess with your head after a little bit. Like, I went to college a little bit too, and, graduated, high school. But I was just like, man, I gotta get out this rut. And, for me, it was the same thing, like, just living at home, watching, my mom, she's getting older. Dad passed away in 2012. So, for me, it was like, all right, I gotta be here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta pick up where he left off. I gotta be supportive, but I also gotta bring some more, and it was really just kind of hard. And I think this one day, like, I just sat down and it just hit me like, nah, man, I don't want to do this no more. But I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm not trying to do this no more. And I was presented with an opportunity, and I remember praying about it and saying, if this is for me, cool. If not, and then that split second, I'm like, I've been waiting for a door to open. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump through it. And I'm glad I did, because it started the path of where I'm at, today. And I'm just like, wow, I'm so happy that I made that decision when I did, and I think that most of us, when we're in that position, and the name itself, Boiling at 100, it speaks about water. When it reaches its boiling point, it's a state of change. We all have a boiling point, and when we reach that point where it's like, I'm done, like, something's got to give, like, it's time to turn to vapor. And that's what it was for me, and it sounds like that's what it was for you too. But for a lot of people who get in there, they get kind of stuck, and they get opportunities thrown at them, but kind of like how I was kind of hesitant, even how you were hesitant, we skeptical, it's like, all right, so you gonna give me this, what I gotta do for you? How many people I gotta get for you? Like, what I mean? Like, it's like everybody who comes up to you with a business, you automatically think it's a pyramid scheme. So it's like, when you're trained like that, and that's just the way it is, you're just like, you cut yourself down to opportunities. And there's a lot of people today I know still trying to find themselves in that situation, and they can't make that change yet, but you can see that the boiling is taking place.
Yeah.
What would you say from a motivational standpoint? Like, what would you say to people like those who are in that position, like how we were, where you're living everyday life, but it's like something just don't seem right. Like, and you know that there's something out there greater. Like, what were like some of those internal, like, deep things that kept you up at night, that really drove you to make that decision and say, I'm gonna do this?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is you, like, just like you said, right? You got to have something that keeps you up at night. You got to have something that you also dream about, and you also have to have a fear. And one of those fears for me of just letting the people I love down. And we talk about that why. The why for me is, once again, what hurts you, and what hurts you and what was hurting me at that time was just literally just coming home and not feeling like I was able to provide. And like you said, I mean, at one point in time, you have that boiling point where you just gotta say, you know what, no more. I'm gonna change what I have going on, and I'm gonna find a way. So that's just what ended up happening. But for people out there that are kind of stuck in the day-to-day motion, I want you to kind of look at it this way, right? Open up your phone, open up your contacts, maybe your favorites, maybe your top 5, and ask yourself this, right? If it isn't you, then who? Who is going to be that person that's going to break those generational curses? Who's going to be that person that's going to be able to, pick you up in a fancy car? Who's going to be able to pay the dinner tab? Who's going to be able to do things passing down family values, right? How to invest into this, how to do this type of stuff, right? How to really, do these things that, sometimes the rich don't teach you, right? And sometimes it's up to you to come into that position, because once again, looking around, you might be the only person that's thinking that way, right? You might be the only person that God has unfortunately given that opportunity to. So, if it's one of those things, that you feel like life is just passing you by, that's exactly what's going on, right? And what you have to do is you have to literally understand that until you're tired of your lifestyle, you're not going to change your lifestyle, right? So many people come up to me and say, hey, Brandon, what do you, how do you do what you do? What do you do? And I'm like, hey, listen, I have this, I have that. This is how you can get started for free. This is how you can get started if you want to pay. These are the resources. This is what you can do. See them months later, you're killing it. Love what you're doing. I got to get started. And I'm tired of my job. And I tell them straight up, you're not tired of your job. You're not tired of your lifestyle. If you were, you would have changed it. You see what I'm saying? Because a person that is in, the zone, or a person that has their back against the wall, they're gonna make sure something's done.
Yeah.
They're gonna make sure, right? When the rubber meets the road, you're gonna make sure that you get what you need to get, right? So it's one of those things, man, where I tell people it's all in your brain. Like it's all in your brain, and you really have to understand that you can't negotiate with your mind. Like you can't negotiate with the subconscious mind of, things just telling you like you can't do it. Like I tell people all the time. I tell my girl all the time. Like I'm like, sometimes like I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I want to quit, right? And then something in my body just literally makes me get up, go to the computer, and just understand that there's no other option. Like failure is not an option. So it's just one of those things where you just have to prevail through your mind. And I do want to give some tips on some books. So one of the books that really kind of changed my mindset was Outwitting the Devil. I love that book. I've now heard it like 3 times when it comes down to audibles. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad is also a great book. The 4-Hour Work Week is also a great book. So before this, I really wasn't in tune with like reading and like really learning about podcasting and really studying things that can elevate your game. But once you start doing that, you're gonna start seeing that these things are obtainable. And also, I'll tell you this much, man, if you are not where you want to be in life, start hanging around people that are.
Yes, absolutely.
Start hanging around people that are, because you're going to understand that life is more than what they have going on. So for example, like, there was a point in time, actually, I was, always buying clothes, sneakers. I was always going to clubs, popping bottles. That's just the type of people I was around. That's just the type of things I like to do. And then when I started noticing, when I started making money, like I don't do that type of stuff as often. I mean, I don't really do it. Bro, my birthday was 2 days ago. I didn't go to no club. I didn't spend no money. The only thing I did was literally have, they surprised me with a surprise dinner, and it was just me and my girl, and my grandmother. So she, like I said, it's just one of those things, man, where you're in another level when you start thinking differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw that actually, and I think it's a big. Let's talk about that. It is a misconception. Like, I feel like with people, like when they talk about changing their lifestyle, that is what they see, is a popping the bottles, doing that. Like, to have money, that's what they see. And what they don't realize is that people who are actually wealthy, I'll say that, who have everything, who are doing it right, they're not out there about the club. They ain't out there like that. They're just low key, because sometimes, at least. But
yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time they are, yeah.
People like, Mark Cuban, I like him. Even like Elon Musk, like, man, I heard some stuff about him, and I was like, dang, like, that's crazy. Like, dude's like crazy smart, but just the sacrifices, you know what I mean? And it's like, I think that, and the reason why I say that is because I feel like if that's where your vision is just gonna take you, that's as far as you're gonna get. It has to be beyond that. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, like, when people they look at that, when they look at these people who are wealthy, that's what they see, and that's what their vision is. They're like, one day I'm gonna be up there too, doing that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like when you set your expectations on that, that's as far as you're gonna get. It's like a lot of rappers and basketball players who are now learning what to do with their money. And if you listen to their interviews, they're like, yo, nobody ever told us how to invest in all this kind of stuff. We were just going out there and just living it up with our money. And some of them go broke, but the smart ones, you see, their footprint is silently in everything. Like, from movies, commercials. I mean, there's rappers and there's basketball players and all kinds of stuff we would never think that they got their footprint in. But it's that investment, it's that life after the life that we're seeing. So I think that's really cool. And that's what kind of came to my mind when you were talking about that, like how you used to be doing that, and then now all of a sudden there's a different mindset, because you're seeking more than that. You're seeing beyond that. So I think that's really cool.
No, for sure. I mean, it's just one of those things, man. Like, when you become financially literate and you literally start focusing on how to maintain wealth. So first you gotta, find a high income producing, job, and maybe not even a job or a skill set, right? You have to find something that can produce high income, like, fast. So this is one of the things that I saw when I was doing that type of stuff, right? I'm cutting hair and I'm looking at, okay, what are these other guys doing in here, right? And what is, like, what's the threshold here? And the threshold was, you have to be a owner. You have to own the barbershop for you to really make money, right? But then the downside for me personally was, I have to manage people, right? And the biggest part was, I have to manage men. And with men, there's ego. And with ego, it's always hard to make money, because it's not about the money, it's about the pride, right? So then going into that aspect, that's why I was like, you know what is the cap here? I don't know what the cap is, but I don't think that that's gonna be worth my time and effort to make that amount of money. So then I move into, okay, let me have a job with benefits and make sure that I'm solidified, right? I mean, if I'm a nurse, I'll always be able to have a job. I'll always be able to get paid decent, and I'll always have good benefits, right? And I'm always gonna have I guess you can say, a purpose. But it just wasn't my purpose, right? And I don't think it was what God put me on this earth to do. Not only that, I was just thinking bigger, right? So, with that being said, is, I found a high income earning skill, and what people don't understand is, like, you can't be your profit margin, if your boss is making $20 an hour and he was there for 10 years, it's going to take you 10 years to get to that spot. So you got to look at that and say, should I do that, or should I find something else that's going to bring me more money faster than 10 years at where he's at? So a lot of people, they don't, you have to look at it from, what is a high income earning skill? What type of problem can I solve in the workspace, and how can I scale it? And that's when you really start making money, right? And then, and the way to do that, is that boiling point. You start feeling that hot water, and you start saying, once again, how do I change my lifestyle? Because this is just not what I want to do anymore.
That's up. That is on point. And man, those were some gems. Those are nuggets right there. You said, definitely, I feel you on that 100%. Like, that's something that I'm learning every day as I get older. That was the reason why I even left my last job, because I was looking at it and I'm just like, I like it, but it's not my calling at the end of the day. Even where I'm at now I don't feel like it's my calling and my purpose, but my mindset is I'm using that as a stepping stone. But I'm still on the side, like saying, yo, what can I do to X out and get to that next level? So the gears are always turning, and that's important, and I know with those, sometimes it's like, as entrepreneurs, visionaries, dreamers, sometimes we got a rough gig because not everybody sees what we see. And like you said earlier, and I'm a firm believer in this, sometimes God give you the vision, but he didn't give you your crew the vision. So, and sometimes he gave you the vision only because it's not meant for you and your crew, it's meant for just you. So with that,
for sure,
a lot of challenges and roadblocks, and sometimes it's a lonely road because not everybody, it's hard finding people on that level to support you. So sometimes you find yourself supporting yourself and keeping your circle tight, blocking out negativity and knowing who you're rolling around, so that way you can keep the momentum. From your perspective, how has that journey been in terms of your circle, in terms of keeping the momentum, and just that, the overall, grind? Did it come easy for you, or were there like times where you were just like, I don't think this is gonna work out? I'm not.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, thank the Lord, I did have like a good foundation. I had 2 or 3 people that were really supportive. And what I mean by supportive is that they just believed in me. But, I can't really truly say that they knew exactly what I was trying to do, or they probably didn't know if it was going to work, but they believed in me, So with that being said you're going to have to go against the grain. You're going to have to be out in the ocean, swimming by yourself sometimes. And, you're going to have to understand that the worse the story, the better the legacy, there's no story out there, when it comes down to somebody that has done something big that this is just what happens, right? And you got to make sacrifices. You got to delay gratification as much as possible. Of course, once you start having some small dose of success, you have to understand how to keep investing, how to keep staying poised, how to understand how to, delay your gratification. Try not to fall for the shiny things. Try not to, do the most, right? And understand that what is given to you can be quickly taken away. So it's always hard. It's so much harder being an entrepreneur than working a 9-to-5. Like if you're having a hard time working on a 9-to-5, bro, dude, it's gonna be hard for you to be an entrepreneur because you're betting on yourself. See, you don't get paid based on your time, you get paid based on the value. And you got to understand that every single day you're going to be putting in hours and you don't know if you're going to get paid. Right. Now, the good thing about it is that once you do get paid, depending on what you're doing, it's going to be set on your own time. And once you have a process, it's just going to keep coming. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those things where it's definitely worth it, but it ain't going to be easy. It's 100% worth it, because at the end of the day, I can choose when to wake up. I can choose when I want to hang out with my family. I can choose what I want to do. And, this is just the foundation that has been given and that I've put in place to be able to do that. With people that are time restricted, unfortunately, this is just what society wants you to do, is just to obviously pay with your time. And we don't have time. You could always make money, but you can't make time. So, you know, I always tell people that if you have that spirit in you, or you feel like you have that spirit in you to be an entrepreneur, go for it. But have an action plan. Understand how you're going to get from A to B to C. Don't just drop everything and say, okay, yeah, I saw a YouTube video, I saw this and that, and then I'm just going to go for it.
Go off and do it, you know? Yeah, man. Yeah. It's definitely, I think that's just one of the things too, is it takes time, and people don't think these things. Like, you know, people sometimes will look at, again, people who are successful, you know, and they think that happened overnight, you know what I mean? And they don't understand that it's a, you know, that it is, that there's a time. And, you know, for me, like, even like, you know, just speaking about you, like, I look at your stuff and I'm like, yo, he's successful. He's doing it, you know, he's doing it. But I don't know your story. You know,
Yeah.
like, I can only look at the videos and stuff and look at what you're doing, but I don't know your story. And that's even the reason why I wanted to have you on the show, give you a platform where you can even share, you know, the mind behind the business, you know, and share that. And I think that is so important, because as people come in line with their purpose or their calling, there has to be steps, and you named it. You have to know how to get to A, B, and C, and you have to have a long-term plan. You have to have a short-term plan. You have to challenge yourself. You know, even worse when you got an entire family to feed. Like, you got to understand, it's not going to just happen overnight.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to put in the hours. If you got to work, fine, but you got to know how to put in the work after those hours. You can't lie dormant. I think one of the videos I seen you post was when the PlayStation 5 came out, and you were just like, man, I ain't worried about no PlayStation 5. Like, listen, I'm working. And, you know, some people might look at that. They may look at it and be like, you know, da-da-da-da. But to me, it's just like, and I'm a gamer. So it was like, for me, it was just like, dang, he's right. And I was like, I still want it.
Because here's the thing, man, right, is that society instills, they do these things, bro. Like, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, all these holidays, man. This is all here to make money. This is what society does for the economy to make money. Black Friday, like, who came up with Black Friday? Like, and what is that for? I mean, it's literally one of the biggest days throughout the year that, you know, consumers spend money that they don't have on credit cards. You know, people that live in paycheck to paycheck, this is what they do. So I like to tell people all the time, man, listen, you got to strive for that to be an everyday thing. Like, if you want, you know, my goal is to have Thanksgiving every day. My goal is to have Christmas every day. My goal, you know, people, hey, what you doing for your birthday? I mean, at this point, it's just my birthday, man. It's just the day I was born. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it. But it's not a huge celebration, because I want it to be every day my birthday. I wanted to celebrate like a true, you know, human being, that we deserve to have these types of things. So it's just one of those things, man, that, you know, you can't fall for the trickery. You know, don't get me wrong, I like playing, you know, games too, but there's a time and a place for that. You know, if you ain't doing what you need to be doing, you're not happy with what you got going on in your life, you got to put it down.
Yeah, you got
to put it down. You got to cut the hanging out with friends. You got to cut the happy hours. You got to cut the gaming out. You got to cut, you know, the alcohol and all these other things. The family, you got to cut the family off. You know, I mean, that's a big one for me too. Unfortunately, there's times where I just can't do certain things, and it's, you know, my mom, my grandma, my girl, and whether they like it or not, I tell them, oh, it's just what I got to do. You know. I mean, it is what it is. So you got to sacrifice sometimes for everybody on, you know, on the boat, because you're the captain.
Yeah. Everybody sitting at the table. Yeah. That's 100, you know, and you're right. And it makes me, you know, remember the saying from, you know, from the Bible that says, you know, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, but when I became a man, you know, put away childish things. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but, you know, and it's so true. It's like when you get to certain ages, and even right now, like, you know, I don't know how I'm 37. So like for me, it's like every year that comes by, everybody's like, yo, what you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't want to do anything. And I literally take that day and I just reflect where I am, where I said I wanted to be at this age, and what can I do to fix it. So every other day or every other day, I find myself having these self-reflection moments where I am constantly looking internally and saying, all right, what can I do? What can I cut to get better and to better myself for tomorrow? And that's really important. And you're right. Sometimes it comes with sacrifice of, family, friends, and, you just gotta do what you gotta do. I remember when, to the viewers who may not know, I don't really talk about it a lot on the show because I got another show for it that's going to be opening up soon. But I'm a youth pastor, so, and I've been doing that since for 10 years now. That is my main calling. That's what I felt. And when I jumped into that, I felt like at the time, I got called into that, but I was still out with my friends, pretty much in an atmosphere that was not conducive for that calling. And literally one night I just hit a boiling point, and I just said, I can't do this no more. And I remember just, praying and saying, God, I ain't gonna do it no more. I'm not gonna run from you no more. And I'm gonna take my calling. It's time to walk in my calling and who I am. And the reason why I bring that up is because that meant not answering the phone sometimes. It meant skipping out on events that I really wanted to go to. And it meant even cutting off some people.
No, that's the biggest thing. People don't know how to do that.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the biggest thing that you got to understand, man, that you got to cut people off, man. You honestly have to, and it's literally nothing personal, but if you want to get to where you need to get to, you have to cut people off, because people will instill the fear that they have upon themselves on into you.
100%.
And they're going to have their negative thoughts about why you can't do something because they've never seen it done, or they can't do it themselves, or they know somebody that tried it and didn't do it. And with that being said, you have to cut people off. And to your point, one of the biggest things, man, is the most expensive thing in life is an opportunity wasted. Because an opportunity can literally lead you into whatever the case may be. And what I don't want your viewers to think is money is the key to everything. Money is not. But understanding that if you ain't doing something that is not your purpose, and what I mean by that is if you are looking at the time throughout the day and you're seeing that it's just going slower and slower, you're not doing something that you enjoy. And once you find something that you do enjoy, that's what you need to do, but you need to find a way to monetize it. So for example, going into what you were talking about, I was actually one day, I was on a flight, and I was going to be on a flight, and I missed my flight, and I was at the chapel at the airport, and this worker, he's a TSA worker, he goes in there, and I was in there with my notebook out, so I was actually reading and doing something. It's 6 a.m, and he comes in, I'm like, oh man, he's gonna kick me out of here, because I was just there. First I was just praying, but then I was just there just to be there because I was alone, and I wanted to just kind of do my thing. And I looked at him, and he was just so tired, young guy too. And I'm like, man, are you okay? Started talking to him and realized that one of his passions was same thing. He wanted to be a pastor. He wanted to be a priest. He wanted to spread the word of God. And he was doing that, but he said that he didn't know how to do it and also have a living. And I said, man, listen, bro. I started opening up my TikTok. I looked up, literally pastors and priests or whatever, and I showed him, even a friend of mine, that his TikTok is over a million likes. And I'm like, he's monetizing this. God put him in the position to understand that, look, you can also spread my word. You can also go ahead and be this person that I want you to be. And I'm still going to have a way and find a way to help you live your life the way that you should. So, if it comes down to gaming, there's people that do, the live cast, gaming and all of that. This other guy ran into him. He's like, man, I love what you're doing, but my biggest problem is I like to have fun, man. I like to go to the club. Boom, become a promoter. Find a way to buy the club so that you don't never have to leave the club, and that you have an excuse to be at the club, but you're making money.
Right.
But see, a lot of us, we don't fine tune on what makes us happy and then try to find a way to monetize it. We just sit there, you know. Once again, social media, people go on. So you follow me, so obviously you see I'm always probably posting something on social media. I'm always have some on my story. The difference between me and a regular person on social media is that I'm using it, I'm leveraging it to make money.
Right.
Other people just watching other people make money. So you either gonna be the wolf, right? Or are you gonna be the sheep? What are you gonna be?
Exactly. That, man, another nugget right there you dropping, and that's so. It's wild that you say that. It's not wild. I think that's the way that this conversation is going. It's great, by the way. It's awesome, and you're right, man. Like, you gotta find what you love. You know, I know somebody who was like, "Yo, I want to start a business." And the first thing I ask when people ask me, I want to start my business, like, I don't know what to do, help me figure it out. I ask them, what's your passion? And they go, wait, what you mean, what my passion? I said, what is your story? Like, what is your vision? They can't tell me. And I said, well, until you can't figure that out, don't even try to do nothing, because anything you start without a vision or a passion,
you're gonna fail.
It's gonna crumble, because you don't, like the Bible says, the people without a vision will surely perish. You know, so you will not, if you don't have a vision and your vision is not clear, it's going to fail. And it's just like what you're saying. It's like, you have to love what you're doing. And I think when you love what you're doing, out of that love, there's a vision, and the vision works for itself, because you love doing it. You're going to put in the work, and
exactly.
you're already loving it. So it's like, why not monetize that? And, you know, and this is like, even, you know, touching on that subject too, because, you know, there's a lot of people, they like to talk about, oh, well, you know, they in it for the money, you know, passions in it. And I'm like, you know, not absolute. I said, listen, people, they got to eat too. I said, they out there, I said, believe me, there's a lot that goes into being in a position of a passion with people that you would have no idea. Do people abuse that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are some humble people out there who they have a 9-to-5 while they're sitting there running a congregation, and they strictly do it. They help the community, and you know, but that, again, that comes with passion. And the way I've always wired it in my head is that I'm working to get money to fuel my passion. Like, basically, like, that's where money comes in for me, is like, money is just to help me build my passion and build upon it. So,
well, see, here's the thing, right? And not to cut you off, but to say that, right? As a pastor, you're bringing value.
Yeah.
And that's how you get paid. You get paid off the value that you provide. See, let's just break this down into like a call center basis. Somebody has an issue, right? Let's say they have an issue and they work for Apple's customer call center. You know what I'm saying? If I'm bringing you value and I'm solving your problem, I deserve to get paid for that. You see what I'm saying? So if a pastor is bringing you value by bringing you faith, by keeping you poised, by speaking patience into you, by, you know, speaking the word of God, and through him is bringing you whatever, it's keeping your stress level away to where you can go make money. You deserve to be compensated for that. And the choice of compensation is up to you, because there isn't no monetary value that you can give, but that's what's called, you know, a donation. But at the end of the day, if you notice, one of the smartest pastors is the one pastor, the multi-millionaire. I don't know his name, but he runs the church out of Texas.
Well, actually, there's a couple out there.
But he's the biggest one, because he got books, he got a podcast. What is it?
T.D. Jakes?
No, not him. It's another guy.
I know you're talking about Joel Osteen.
Him.
Yeah.
Multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
But you see, what he's done is that he's found a way to be able to give a bunch of people value, or speak to a bunch of people at one time. So he's solving a bunch of problems at one time. Versus you, if you just have one church or one congregation, you're only talking to the same amount of people, and the only way to get more people in there is by word of mouth.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
So what he learned is his passion, which is maybe speaking into people through the word of God, but then he turned it into an actual business because he went digital with it. He went social media with it.
Yep.
And then what he did is he found a high income skill set. He found out how to brand himself and how to market himself with other like-minded people.
Yeah, you're right. And that's and to me that is and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's kind of cool that many people are stepping out of their comfort zone and they're stepping into having TV shows and stuff like that. Me and my wife, we were watching what was it? The Unmatched, Married at First Sight, the Unmatched series. And one of the co-hosts there is a pastor. And I'm like, oh snap, I didn't know he was a pastor, but he's also a counselor, and that's part of his thing. And I'm just like, yeah, you have to have multi levels. I mean, I know a pastor who, he does a podcast, he's a graphic designer. So you got to build that value in your craft, and they just happen to also be a pastor. You know, I'm also a life coach too, so part of that, and even with my podcasting, the whole vision of that, all that is all wrapped into one vision. So yeah, you're right. You gotta find what works and build upon that and make it multiply, so that way it works for you. Absolutely. I 100% agree. And that's the only way you're really gonna get, that's the only way, and I think the term we were looking for is, that's the only way we're gonna exist, versus that's the only way we're gonna be living versus just existing, and that goes back to what you were saying, like, the mode of people just waking up every day looking at the clock, you're just existing, you're just here. One of the things I've always told youth when I minister to them is, I'm saying, listen, if you do not have purpose in your life and you walk this earth without purpose, without drive, without passion, then you are simply me with an expiration date, because you have nothing driving you to nothing driving you in life, and you got to have that purpose. So absolutely. And you're right about Joel Osteen. It is funny because if you look on Amazon, you check, he has his books out, he got his audio books out. I think he even had a TV show at one point, and it's funny because when he started doing that, Pdge started doing that too. He started getting heavily into that. There were so many other pastors getting into that. And even now, even during this, pandemic that we're in, I'm seeing a lot of, bishops getting into stuff like that, because even right now, as we speak, this whole digital game, or this whole digital world, is on fire right now within the, because everybody's been home. So everybody's picking up a digital skill, and so many people are making mad money just from their homes. But this is something that they never would have found if they were still going out every day working a 9 to 5. But they just found something that worked for them, something that they loved, and they turned it into, income, monetizing it. So 100%, man, 100%. I like what you're putting down, man. Some real nuggets there. And one of the things I also, wanted to ask you about too is, because I think when people, and this goes back to the conversation we're having about, just money in general, and it not being a necessity, or not necessarily the focus, but it's knowing how to use it. And some people, and we talked about it, like that nightlife, that like having fancy things, having nice things, having, those extravagant things. I know I want those stuff. I know I have a car right now in my mind that if I had the money, I'd go buy it 100%. I probably wouldn't even drive it, but I would get it 100%. Like everybody does. I know what type of watch I would get 100%. If I had it, I could get it. So we all have those things that we want. And then I think with some people, they don't use it correctly, so they go overboard, and then they end up going back to square one because they weren't wise about it. Like, So how do you, because money management is obviously an important thing. So what are something that you can tell us about money management and managing the money of it? Because obviously if you're making income like that, you can obviously go broke really quick. So tell us about that.
So, when it comes down to money management, I mean, that's really, really important. I mean, I do tell people, so making money is important, but the way you keep it is by managing it. And a lot of times people don't live below their means, right? Everybody wants to look a higher level than what they really are, right? You're making if you're making 50 grand, you want to look, you're making 80. If you're making 80, you want to look like you're making six figures. If you're making six figures, you want to look. So one of the biggest things is, number one, understanding exactly how much money, what is your overhead? So like, just even me and my phone and my notes, I keep like a tab of what I spend every single month when it comes down to just home personal things, right? So I know, listen, this is what I have to make every single month to just survive. Like, this is how much I need to make to just survive. And then on top of that, money, you have to find a way to also have money that you can invest into different types of things. It could be maybe NFTs, it could be crypto, it could be stocks, it could be maybe just a small business, right? Selling t-shirts, whatever the case may be. You have to put your money in places where it's going to keep working for you. And then the next thing is, once again, understand that you have to delay gratification as much as possible. Like what you were saying, everybody has goals, everybody has things that they want to get, but once you start understanding that that's just an emotional sale, right? So for a long time, let's just say if you want to buy a Rolex, once you're able to buy a Rolex, understand that you could buy the Rolex, or you could also build another business. You could use that money to employ other people to delegate your time to then create more money. Right. So now you can buy the Rolex 10 times over. And now you can really, and you should buy the Rolex, because now it's going to be more of a statement piece and an investment still. But so many people, they do things so early, and that's what ends up happening. So, you start looking and acting more than what you really have, right? You start buying Dior, you start buying this designer, you start doing all of this. And let's just say you're making $5,000-$7,000 a month, but you're spending $6,000, right? So that's what we call your debt to income ratio in the real estate world. So this is more of your, once again, spend to income ratio, right? That you're just meeting right here. And you're not ever going to get past that, because you're never putting yourself in a position to obviously have money to be able to build something. And once again, it just goes back to understanding your mindset. Like, how do I snap out of this? I tell people all the time, the biggest disease in the world is procrastination. Everybody procrastinates, but some people just procrastinate for 50, 60 years. And unfortunately, they just never get out of it. Yeah, they just never get out of it. So what I tell people is, listen, you're in the boiling point right now, you're watching, what I want you to do is set goals, right? Set goals, but I want you to set daily goals. Don't set goals that, hey, this year I want to lose weight, right? And because what happens is then you start trying to lose weight in July, and now you put yourself in a position to where you gave yourself half the time, whether, you should have had a whole 12 months versus 6 months. So, if you want to start a business in the next 30 days, give yourself every single day goals that you need to have done, so that at the end of 30 days, you have held yourself accountable. Another thing is having income producing activities. So many of us, we just take the time to just BS. It's called being busy, but not productive. So when you have something to do, actually ask yourself this. Sometimes I'm going through my day and I'm like, is this going to make me money? Okay, let me stop doing this and let me do something that's really going to help me make some money today, right? So many people are doing things that aren't really productive. And the last thing I want to talk about, when it comes down to the boiling point, is at your job. You got to have the psychology of this, right? People love to have a job because it's support. It's a safety net. You got to understand something. This is kind of like the trajectory that I had when I was working at 9 to 5. I knew that I would still get paid even if I did a bad job.
Yep. 100.
And at that point in time, what you're trying to do is you're trying to do the middle of the middle.
Most people do that, yeah.
But what ends up happening is that turns into 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then by the time you're 50, you're like, man, I'm gonna retire in 15 years. I might as well just keep doing it.
Yeah, you wasted your whole time away at that one place, not growing.
So now the only person that you can blame is yourself, because you literally have just been procrastinating this whole time. So here's one thing that I like to talk about, right? And it's the saying that I heard. My grandma told me it, I think, a long time ago. It was in Spanish, but obviously I'll say it in English. So it's one of those things where there was I think it was a natural disaster. I don't know what it was. I think it was a hurricane or a tornado or a tsunami. Something was going on in this city. And there's this guy there, right? And everybody's evacuating the city, right? And people are like, hey, I'll just say John, right? Hey, John, are you coming? The city's going underwater. What do why are you staying here? He's like, no, don't worry. God will save me, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he lets them go. Boom. Now he's literally in like a balcony of a building, right? And the water's like in the middle of all the buildings or whatever. There's people floating by on a boat, and they're like, John, what are you doing, man? Those cities going underwater, right? Yeah. And he's like, no, don't worry about me, man. God will save me.
Yep.
So finally, the water just goes up to the top of the buildings, right? And he's at the top of the roof, and there's a helicopter that comes by. And he's like, John, what are you doing, man? The city's just gonna go. You're gonna lose your life. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, no, don't worry about it, man. God will save me. So the guy ends up passing away, obviously dies, right? Because the city goes underwater and he chokes. And he gets up to heaven and he's like, God, why did you come and save me? And God is like, you dummy, I sent you a boat, a helicopter, and I let you know that the city was going underwater. You missed all these opportunities. And that really resonated with me, because I'm like, man, if you were to look at your life, at how many people God put in your life for you to literally take action on what that person is doing, you'll see all the opportunities that you're missing to also be able to do what they do, right? Yeah. And if you don't think that this isn't true, I want to keep it 100% transparent. And it's not that I don't want to call Nathan out, but I am going to. So, he told me that we spoke a year ago, and it was a year ago. And once again, we resonated on the phone, and he's like, man, I'm going to check you out. I'm going to follow you on Instagram. And right there, maybe God sent me or put us together for him to see what I had going on. But it could, right now, if I would have never wanted to do this, it would have been a missed opportunity. But maybe God is putting this opportunity again for him to say, whoa, maybe he should try what Brandon's doing. So guys, what I want you to do right now, right, if you're watching this, look at your life and see how many times do you feel like somebody has come across, or maybe some type of skill set, or maybe an opportunity that you're like, man, I missed out on that. Because people live in fear, right, Nathan? What ends up happening is that people that don't take risk never win. So here's the thing, right? Like right now with this crypto stuff, right? There's this coin going crazy, Shiba, right? It's rising and rising and rising, right? And the people that don't want to make money, their mindset is like, well, you know what? I can't buy it now because it's too late, right? 2 days go by, boom, it shoots up another 30%. Now it's like, oh, well, I definitely can't buy it now because it's just going to go down, right? Boom, then it goes up another 10%, right? Then it's like, oh my God.
It was like looking for plane fares. If you don't get it now, it's going to go up like 3 times by the time you're ready.
That's what ends up happening, is that at the end of the day, right, you always look at yourself like, man, I should have did that a long
jumped
time.
on that $100 flight.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is, the moral of the story is, the most expensive thing in life is a missed opportunity. And you have to understand how to identify these opportunities and which ones you can go after, and literally tell yourself, I'm going to make sure that I come through. Because see, they say knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is power. Right. And if you never implement anything, you'll never get anything done. Right. So 100%. Just wanted to share that quick story with you, man.
That was powerful, man. That was powerful, man. Like, yeah, I'm loving this, man. I really know this video is gonna touch a lot of people and speak to a lot of people's heart, man. You're really putting out some good information, and it's been so, and it's funny because you told me that you did public speaking, and I was gonna ask you about that too, but I'm like, I'm seeing it firsthand. So, but yeah, man, it's been the nuggets that you're dropping is nuggets that people need to hear to help them, so that way they can reach their boiling point, and they can just make that change and just say, you know what, that was the old me. I used to be at that state, but now I'm in a different state. Now I roll differently. Go water to vapor. You know what I mean? And that's what's important right there. That's what's important. So I really like it. So when you do your public speaking, typically do you do it like at seminars?
Yes. Yeah. Mostly like events. It could be an educational event. It could be an entrepreneur event. It could be a real estate event. People just reach out to me, and depending on what's going on, if I'm able to do it, yeah, I'll come out, and just try to speak some value into the people and give back, and also kind of teach people what's going on, kind of like what we have going on right here. So yeah, it's one of those things that I grew into. I've always been a talkative person, but I've never had like coaching on it, or I've never had like anybody, give me pointers on it. It was just one of those things that just kind of grew upon me. And, once you start building confidence, and you really believe in what you speak, and you also start seeing how it affects people, that people do get moved and there's positive feedback, you just see how you feel that momentum, and you just keep going, man. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those cool things that I never thought I'd be like a public speaker, I guess you could say, but it's worked out for the best.
That's what's up. And we talked about a lot, and we talked about money, and we all know, but I know that there's also that the intangible things, the things that you can't necessarily touch, that has been probably a huge blessing in your life. Like probably seeing like happiness, like in your girl, your families, from what you're doing, and probably you meeting somebody and talking to him. You talking about the story about the TSA agent.
Yeah.
Wherever he is, this video. I hope this video he sees it and he's like, "Yo, that was him."
Yeah.
That was him.
No, he follows me on Instagram, so yeah, I mean, he might be able to see it. Yeah, so sometimes he sends me videos like what he's doing. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty nice, man.
That's what's up, man. And I know for me, those are those moments that solidify the why, and solidify why I want to do what I do. Is hearing that. It's like when somebody's like, "Yo, man, I listened to your sermon today, and it touched me. There was a lot of things I was fighting, and it really helped me give strength." And those are the moments where I'm just like, "Yo, like I'm humbled," because I'm just trying to figure it out, just like you. But I'm like, I could be in a position to help you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that feeling, with your family, and just being that. Is that something new to you as you kind of growing into a speaker?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's I'm growing into it, so now it's becoming a little bit more. I'm starting to wear the jacket, but it's definitely something that in the beginning was kind of weird, right? The way I look at it is like, you have a lot of pressure. There's people counting on you, whether you feel like there aren't. There's people counting on you, and just having an abundance mindset. People tell me all the time, Brandon, like, why are you telling people about this, right? And that's how I was when I first got started. I'm like, man, I found the plug. Like, I'm not telling nobody about how I'm making money, right? Because it's been so long for me trying to figure it out. Like, how is this way to be able to make money? So I start telling people gonna start doing it too, right? And there's less money for me. And what I notice is that God just, man, he put some type of like something in my system that it makes me feel like I have to throw up. And what I mean by that is, like, I just have to spew out the education. I have to spew out, the abundance mindset, and just kind of talk about, the opportunity that he's given me. So, it's one of those things that I just feel like I'm blessed to be able to be in this position. I love the fact that I'm able to tell other people, and I just love that I'm a testament to something that maybe people might not think that is possible, because it is, and there's many more people like me. There's a lot of friends that I've met, there's a lot of people that I've met that you come across them and their stories are just like insane, right? and you're like, man, like, how did you make it out of that? So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, leaders are just, they're built, and once you build them up, that's just what they are. You know what I'm saying? We have the battle wounds, the scars, but that just goes to show you, like, that, you know, we're here to empower, and we're here to help.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, I always used to say this growing up, and I'm like, leaders, I said, we're like hardcore generals. Like, in front of the army, we'll never flinch, never limp, you know, we'll never show anything, and we'll do everything in our power to give the men courage to fight another day.
Yeah.
And then we'll go in our tent and barely make it to our beds, take our armor off, and alone we will nurse our wounds. You know, and then we will go back out there and pretend like it never happened, because we know that we have to be strong, because like you said, there's that pressure that you have to be strong, you have to carry that mantle, because there's people that depend on you. And it's something that people don't understand in leadership. And you know, this whole series that I'm doing, it's about sharing that transparency of being a leader and walking in that. So it's been really awesome just to hear that, because again, people, they may see stuff, and you know, sometimes they may see, you know, pictures or videos, and they think one way without even really trying to understand like what's going on. You know what I mean? So just really powerful, just the words that you're talking, and you know, just having that desire to teach people, that desire to show love, you know, because some people can be selfish with it. You know, they can just say, nah, I discovered it, it's me. But it definitely takes a certain type of man to say, yo, I got the plug, but I want to share it. I want them to grow. And I've always been like that, where I've always been like, yo, I found something that is going to take off, but I got to bring my team with me, you know?
Yeah.
And I've always been that way. And then, you know, I think of late, God's been bringing me into a different direction, where it's like, listen, you brought people several times to the mountaintop. Now it's time for you to go to that mountaintop and take that proverbial journey and do that for yourself. Doesn't mean that you're being selfish, but this is time to act for you. And that's what being a leader is like, you're in the fight with everybody else, but you're also you're showing, you know, there's that poem that I love so much that was recited in Coach Carter, and it says, our deepest fear is that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And it goes all the way to say that, because when we subconsciously let our light shine, we give others, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Because when we liberate ourselves, we liberate them too. And that's what a leader does. When you're walking in your own liberation, your own, I guess for this newer generation, we'll call it your wokeness, or I don't know what they call it. When you're walking in your own convictions, we'll say that, you're giving other people like liberation to say, yo, I'm gonna walk with him, and they're walking how you walk. So if you stumble here, they gonna know, okay, look out for that point. I saw him stumble there. I'm gonna take the side road. And if they see you speed up, they're gonna be like, I don't know what he sees, but I'm speeding up too. And if they see you procrastinate, then they're gonna be like, oh, well, ain't nothing to worry about, because he ain't moving, so why should we move? So there's a lot of pressure on us as leaders, and I definitely commend you for boldly, you know, taking that and sharing that with others, even being on the show. I know time is important for a guy like you, so 100%. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
No problem.
And, you know, sharing your time with us and everything like that. We'll definitely, you know, we definitely gonna talk. You know, we definitely gonna talk about some things.
Sure.
100%. Definitely. Like we talked about when I was at Florida Blue. You know, we gonna talk, and I meant it. We gonna definitely gonna talk. But so the last question, because I know we've been kind of going here for a minute now, and I know we probably got things we gotta do. You know, you gotta do and stuff like that. But the last thing is, I always ask my participants, or always ask my visitors to give the audience a word of encouragement. Give them something to go home with that they can take from everything that we talked about, learning about life lessons or whys, even what you're doing. You know what I mean? Some people might think it's really hard. They may not have the time, or they may not be knowledgeable enough to know it. You know, break it down for them. Give them a little word of encouragement. This is your time to put your brand out there, and to promote yourself. So go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'll leave them with is, right, you're the author to your book, right? And you know, obviously the beginning is your childhood, and you couldn't really change too much of that. But from then on, you know, you're writing this book, and the biggest thing that I want you guys to kind of understand is, once the book is done and you're no longer on Earth, how are people gonna read that book? Are they gonna say it's a good read or a bad read, right? And are people gonna have this book and refer it to other people, or are they just gonna throw it away? And that's something that really, you know, I try to live by, which is understanding that being impactful is important in life. And being impactful, you know, not in a popularity way, but more so with people that you know, respect and love you. Understanding like, hey, you know, he put us or she put us in positions to do X, Y, Z. You know, so with that being said, you know, how is your book gonna be, and what type of read will it be? When it comes down to what I do, yeah, of course, a lot of people always say, hey, I don't have the time, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the money. And obviously hearing my story, you can understand that I didn't have that neither. But one thing that we can teach you is how to do it, but we can't teach hustle. So if you have some hustle, if you have some tenacity, if you have some dedication to want to get out of the lifestyle that you're in right now, and you want to do something a little bit different, you know, you can definitely come check us out. You can just obviously first just start off by following me on Instagram, or just go on my YouTube, Blue Notes Brandon, and just look at kind of the same way Nathan did. You know what I'm saying? We met on a phone call, and it's just one of those things where I kind of told him what I did, and of course I could have just been somebody just talking out of the blue, right? But you know, the biggest thing, especially with now, is validation. You know, check it out, see if this is something that you might want to do some research on it, and if you're interested, like I said, just reach out, and you know, we can help you out as much as we can. But the biggest thing that I want you to understand, guys, is that, you know, your life is very important, and everybody deserves to be successful, and everybody deserves to be happy. But you know, it's one of those things where, you know, does everybody deserve to be wealthy? And if that's what you're looking to do, then you have to put in the work. And with that being said, you got to find something, you know, that pays you well on it. And that's just one of the things that I really liked, is that I didn't want somebody to tell me how much I was worth an hour. You know, when I worked, you know, 9 to 5, and I would accrue PTO, I would have, you know, a week of PTO and still not be able to go on vacation because I didn't have much money. All right. So if that's you, you deserve better. The only thing is that you have to work a little bit harder, maybe a little bit more, to be able to accomplish what you want. Okay. So you're probably just in the wrong place right now. And once you understand that, you change your mindset, you're going to come to the right place, and then, you know, you're going to start getting exactly what you're looking for. So that's what I got for them, Nathan.
All right, cool. Well, hey man, those are wise words, a lot of nuggets, and I'm gonna have to transcribe some of these, man, and put some little footnotes. But definitely, for those of you, our listeners out there, go check Brandon out. Go see what's going on. You know, anybody who's on the show, I always tell you guys, they're good people, they're trusted people. You know, go look at his stuff. and he's pretty much an open book. He gave you the invitation. If you want to learn, he's there. He's got you. You know what I mean? And then also too, I'll be posting some links, some stuff from his, so that way you can kind of see his links. If you don't know how to get in touch, we'll be posting that too as well. And overall, you guys know the motto: don't quit, but keep fighting. That's our motto. Also, shout out to Neat Mod Apparel, who is our official merchandise. They're going to be holding a lot of shirts from Boiling at 100. So go check them out too. Remember, Neat Mod Apparel. And with that being said, lastly, before we close, any shout outs for you, Brandon? Anybody you want to give a shout out to, or any partners you want to give a shout out to here on the last?
Man, I just want to say my biggest shout out to the man upstairs, my favorite business partner. Obviously, one of my taglines is sponsored by God, and I truly feel that way. So, that's my shout out.
That's what's up. Perfectly said. All right. Well, you guys heard it from the man himself. All right. So we're signing off. This is another edition of Boiling at 100. Go check out Brandon, because he certainly is boiling at 100, or as we like to say, he is boiling at 100. Check it out. We love you guys. Signing off for tonight.
Take care, guys.